So guys, we're going to have a look at an introduction into MyFitnessPal, which is for the macro tracking options for those of you who'd like to track your calories and your macros. However, for people who are taking the intermittent fasting route, you may also want to, from time to time, use the MyFitnessPal because you can gauge how much calorie intake you're actually having. One thing that you'll find throughout this course that will be expressed to you is not to undereat. If you undereat, you won't be losing the weight that you would like to lose, or the muscle tone that you would possibly like to gain. So it is quite important that you make sure that you're not doing that, and MyFitnessPal is a great way to be able to track what you're doing. If you don't want to do that, and maybe you just like to use a diary to write your progress in once in a while, that's also a really great way of keeping track of what you're doing. So how to measure your calories to eat better, lose weight, be more mindful of what you eat. That's what one of the things of MyFitnessPal is going to do for you. But how do we start to tackle a minefield such as a diet and track it? Honestly, it seems almost impossible to begin with. So the first step before you start on your MyFitnessPal app is you need to find your total calorie amount needed per day. MyFitnessPal app can help you do this, or you can use the calculator.net that we went through earlier on in the course. From my opinion personally, I would actually use the calculator.net. It's a lot more specific, and it seems to really find the exact amount that you would need every single day. Step 2 is you need to times your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, by either 1.2, 1.5, 1.7 or 1.9, depending on how active you are per day. The third step is the number given needs to be entered into your MyFitnessPal app, and we will go through that with you in a moment, and then also how to use MyFitnessPal. So how to use MyFitnessPal. When you open up MyFitnessPal, you'll be welcomed with a screen such as this. So you're going to have to log on with your details, but once you do log on and you actually get into the app itself, you're going to see that it has a welcome screen, and down in the right hand corner here are 3 dots with the word more on it, and you need to press that button to send you through to this screen, which is over here on the right hand side. So once you've got over to the right hand side, then you're going to need to come here where it says goals, and you're going to want to click on goals, and that's going to open up another window for you. Once you've done that, and this is on the free version by the way, so you can actually purchase a subscription to MyFitnessPal. You don't have to do that. It does offer more things. It does offer more ways of tracking and better ways of tracking. I think MyFitnessPal is really more like a community rather than just an app. It's actually there to try and get to inspire you to really keep MyFitnessPal within your lifestyle. However, this is just a free version of the app is what we're going through. So you're going to come to nutrition goals. Once you clicked on goals, you're going to come to nutrition goals, and you'll come to calorie, carbs, protein and fat goals, and you're going to click that little button there. And once you've done that, you're then going to come to this screen over here, and I'll just move my screen up so you can see a little better. So this is the calories, carbs, protein and fat screen, and this is basically how many calories you're going to enter in. The calories that you need to enter in are the calories that you've worked out from your basal metabolic rate times however much activity you are, and that's going to be your number. And then it's going to have your carbohydrates, proteins and fats down here, and it's going to want to know a percentage. So what we basically want to do is we want to split the percentages quite easily. Now this is going to be individual for every single person. However, what we recommend is that you have a 40% carbohydrate intake, a 40% protein intake and a 20% fat intake. Now whether you know this or not, you're probably going to find that your carbohydrate intake is going to be more past 40, maybe 45 or 50%, because all of us tend to eat a lot more carbohydrates in our general day-to-day diet. However, all I'm going to ask you to do is just be more aware of your carbohydrate intake for the moment and see if you can keep it within the 40 to 45% range. The protein intake of 40% is actually going to be quite high for you, and you might find that the protein percentage is too hard to actually hit, and so actually getting 40% protein every single day, you're going to find a struggle. Don't worry about that. If you don't actually hit 40%, so let's say you hit 25 or 30%, but you feel you're actually intaking more protein than you have done previously before you started taking this course, that is a great positive. So take that away from the tutorial here, is that any increase in protein is a good thing. It's a positive. And then the fats, again, 20% of fat. You might find that you go over the 20%, and again, that's okay. But if you are going too far over the 20%, so between 25 and 30% intake, you're probably going a little bit too high in your fat intake and possibly want to scale that away. So here we have a little bit more of a breakdown. So on the left hand side of the screen, you have your carbs, protein and fat, and this is basically the screen that you'll be using to adjust. So 40% carbs, 30% and 30%, I think that's what the app will actually ask you to do when you first open it up. And then you just need to adjust your macros settings. You can go back into the MyFitnessPal and adjust the percentage if you just can't reach the advised percentages that have been given to you, such as the 40, 40, 20. You might want to adjust it. So down here, we're sort of suggesting that you've got your carbs at 40 to 45%, protein at 35%, and fats at 15 to 20%. So there's a little bit of a window there, guys. And the reason that is because your calorie intake is still going to be your calorie intake. So I'm just going to move myself slightly over here. So your calorie intake is actually going to be your calorie intake nonetheless. You're always going to be reaching or looking to reach that overall amount, which is your BMR times your activity level, every single day as best you can. And the reason that we're doing that is because we're trying to find an equilibrium. So if we teach the body every single day to hit this certain amount of calories and not go under it and not go over it, we're actually going to find that we sustain our weight. And that's the most important thing to do first of all, is to sustain your weight. If you're expecting to lose weight on this course within the first week, you're either going too far ahead of yourself and dropping your calories too low, or you might just be losing some water retention and maybe a little bit of body fat. But on this first week, you're not necessarily going to lose or gain anything. We actually want you to stay at equilibrium and find the calorie amount that you actually need. So you can make adjustments within this, guys. You can adjust your percentages of how much you feel you intake every single day. We definitely want you to be hitting those calories every single day, the calories that have been worked out for you either by MyFitnessPal or the calculator.net. We definitely want you to be hitting those calories every single day to find an equilibrium. If you are finding it too hard to reach those calories every single day and you're feeling like it's too many, you can drop down a small amount. That might result in you emailing us, and we'll get back to you on that with a suggestion of calories. However, we don't want you to drop too low. You must remember that with the macro, this is for people who are macro tracking and not so much the intermittent fasting, but people who are going to be macro tracking and tracking their calories with a little bit more intensity, that you're going to be dropping your calories away week by week anyway. So we don't want to start with a low number of calories, because we're actually going to be dropping your calories away anyway. And that's really important to understand, that you can't start low and then go lower, because you're not going to get the results that you may possibly be looking for in your short and long-term goal. Again, for people who are doing the intermittent fasting, route, macro tracking is useful. You don't have to do it every single day. You might want to do it 1 to 2 times a week, or maybe 3 to 4 times a fortnight, to just make sure that you're on the right track and you're not actually undercutting yourself calories, and you're also not overdoing calories as well. But that is completely up to you. Again, if you feel like you need our advice, then please email us and we will get back to you. So just on the right hand side, guys, just very quickly, you will then come back to your main screen, which has got sort of today in it, and it's got your overall calories. It will tell you, the overall calories here. So this is your calorie goal. This is what you've got to reach. And also this is the food that you consume so far. And in the green numbers here, the 1,742, it's basically telling you that's how many calories you've got left to consume. So you could be in the middle of your day and think, well, I've still got another snack to have, and I've also got another meal, and that's going to be fine. And down here is where your breakfast, lunch and dinner are going to be. So for breakfast, this person here has had a protein cookie, a nectarine cappuccino, with some skim milk and half a teaspoon of sugar. So all of that has been recorded, and his calories, or the person's calories, on the right hand side here, this is the overall amount they've had for breakfast, and this is what they've had throughout that morning, and that's the breakdown of their calories. If you go into each individual food group, so let's just say for the protein cookie here, it will actually give you the breakdown of the amount of protein, the amount of carbohydrate, and the amount of fat that that person has had. So again, whether you're doing intermittent fasting or you're doing macro tracking, it's great to be able to see what your actual intake is. The reason being is that you might be eating some food in your diet, and you might be thinking, this is I've always eaten this food thinking it's really good for me, but actually my fat intake is far more than I actually thought it was, and that's why MyFitnessPal is so good, because it can actually give you, in layman's terms, what you're actually eating, and that's really useful for both people who are macro tracking and also intermittent fasting.